The name of the game is playing really, really good baseball in late May.
We have a motto here that, little things become big things. And if we can take care of those little things, I think we're gonna be all right.
We got to bring your expectations are high, and this is kind of what we're used to. This is how I was introduced to Middle Township basketball.
I miss being on the sidelines. I miss everything what high school football is all about. I think it's the greatest sport.
It's not a walk in the park going through our league.
And the message is simple. We want to win a state championship.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Cal 101 right here on KB Atlantic Live, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. I'm your host, Nick Kosko. As we continue our summer football preview series for the 2024 campaign, I'm pleased to be joined now by Malachi Timberlake, Pleasantville head coach. Coach, again, it's been a while since we got a chance to chat, of course, but you are one of the younger coaches within the Cape Atlantic area. You've done a great job with the Pleasantville program, 8-2 season last year, sectional semifinals, and looking for more here in 2024. How's the preparation for the upcoming fall been going for you guys?
First things first, I want to say thanks, Nick, for having me on this show, man, just to get a chance to speak about the program. And it's been great, man. Great off season so far. A little bit different approach this year because we just got different type of kids, different group of kids. I've been fortunate and blessed to have the kids that I have been able to coach the last 2 years. The class of 24 has been a really special class. Even as juniors, when we took over from the 0-10 program season before that we took over, we was able to get the ball rolling right away. Had some great coaches join and help us out. So we went being able to go 7-3 that year, losing in the second round of the playoffs, and then coming back this year, going 8-2, and not being able to get over that hump. But we saw strides, and those guys are really the reason for laying the foundation of the program and just getting to the direction we want to get to. So this year has been great. Got some young guys that have been playing a lot of football. The last 2 years is going to be upperclassmen now. And it's kind of like their time to run the show. So they're stepping in those leadership roles, and it's been great, man.
I want to actually hit on that real quick because, again, you haven't been in the program too long as the head coach, only a couple of years going into year 3 now, I believe, as what you just alluded to. You take over a team that was going through a transitional period. Again, you go back to 2019, that team was very special to the community. Again, I know there was also tragedy involved a couple of years ago as well, but they had a nice playoff run. Coach Sacco did a great job with them. Then COVID hit. It affected a lot of programs in 2020 and 2021. Then you come in and the program was on a downturn a little bit. You had an immediate spark. What was that like from you, especially being a young head coach, and you bring in your staff, your guys, and just kind of reshape the roster, reshape the guys and the mentality towards the game of football? What was that whole thing like when you took over the program to now where it is now in year 3?
So I think the one key part was when I first graduated college in 2020, my first year coaching, I was an assistant at Pleasantville High School, and under the head coach, Javier Garcia, which I have a great relationship with. So my seniors that just graduated, they were freshmen then. So they're kind of like my first class that I ever got a chance to coach. And I had those relationships that I built with them when they were freshmen. So when I was able to come back, so I coached with them for 1 year. Then I coached at my alma mater, Cedar Creek High School in 21. And then when I was able to get this opportunity and I came back the year following, I already had the relationship. So they trusted me and they bought in right away. It was still some bumps and bruises. And I had some great guys on staff that helped us get the ground rolling. So just them buying in and the kids, I already knew that group was very, very talented, like super talented. Even in the Pop Warner and Little League programs, they were in the championship almost every year when I did the research. And they're real close-knit group. They always played together, and they truly loved each other. So it made my job a lot easier, and the rest of the staff's jobs a lot easier. We just had to get the bad habits out and get those guys rolling. So it's been fun, man. And just using our youth as an advantage. We have a pretty young staff. My office coordinator now is my teammate in high school when we won a state championship at Cedar Creek. He's just turned 24 years old. My offensive line, defensive line coach played with me at Cedar Creek. He's 24 years old. So we just use our youth as an advantage, man, and try to get as much as we possibly can out of the kids.
And I was just actually going to allude to that because, again, a lot of the guys that you have back, you have a big senior class coming back this year. So the class of 25 this year, this class seems to be loaded for the Greyhounds. But you bring back some other guys that are also veterans, but also juniors. I wanted to start with Ahmad Jones, your quarterback, who's going to be stepping up, I guess, even a bigger leadership role this year. What's it been like for you? Because, again, you go back to, you just mentioned the first class that you had, and they just graduated. And now with these guys, where now they've been able to develop behind that class, and they got a lot of playing time as sophomores and juniors. You have more of a veteran team this year. I'm sure a lot of the other young guys mixed in as well. But what's Ahmad Jones and the rest of this veteran group look like to you going into the fall?
So, Nick, Ahmad's actually class of 26.
Oh, 26. Okay, so
Yes,
I take that back. So then at that point,
it just makes it even better, though.
Maybe even more now as a sophomore.
Absolutely. So, Ahmad I think he started 4 games as a freshman. In those 4 games, he threw almost 10 touchdowns, had close to 1,000 yards throwing already within those 4 games. It was all conference as a freshman. Last year, he came back through for 1,500 and we're responsible for 20 touchdowns. So pretty much when I took over, he pretty much had the keys. We had a really talented quarterback. Unfortunately, he got hurt the second game of the season in Ahmad's freshman year. So Ahmad had to step in and fill in. And he had split some time with another quarterback that we had on the roster. And ever since then, he took the keys, man. Last year, he kind of took some strides, struggled a little bit to do some certain things that we expected him to do, but he was still able to make strides and lead the team. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be able to go as far as we've gone the last 2 years. So this year, I think he's going to take a huge step. He's been training with a quarterback coach, one of the best on the East Coast, with Marcus Hammond, and he's been training with him 5 days a week, doing 7-on-7, all those extracurricular activities to help develop the quarterback position, because you know that position is so hard to play. And I truly think he's going to put on a show this year, man. I'm excited to see what he's what's the future is looking for, because he's put the work in.
Just wanted to clarify my comments. Ahmad Jones, class of 26, one of your juniors stepping up, and then of course that goes along with your senior class, which is very heavy, and some of the guys on the offensive side of the football where he'll be throwing to or getting the ball to in some sort of fashion, whether you're doing a lot of options, throwing the football, handing it off. Elijah Marable and Julius Townsell, 2 of your bigger playmakers on both sides of the football. What do those 2 guys bring to the table here this fall?
Just different dynamic. Julius is a very consistent football catcher. He makes big time catches. He made some big time catches last year in the Willingboro game. Elijah Marable, we're expecting him to taking a more offensive role. He was our starting corner last year, so he did a really good job for us. I think he finished the year with 3 interceptions. Made some pretty big plays and big moments. And then we got 2 other young guys that have stepped up that I think is going to make a splash on the scene. Takis Barnes and Jamil Hudson. Jamil Hudson was a transfer last year from he came in from Philadelphia, and he was ineligible due to the transfer rules because he transferred in the middle of the season. And he's super talented, man. So I can't wait to see him and the plays that he's able to make this year as well.
I think one of the biggest storylines for you guys in this offseason, you just mentioned the transfer, and I don't want to use transfer portal in the high school because we're not quite there yet, but who knows, maybe about 10 years, there's going to be an official transfer portal for high schools across the entire country. But Braswell Thomas comes in, he transfers, from Lower Cape May. He just committed to Penn State as well, so he's a big name already in South Jersey. You want to talk about some guys that are going to go Division I for next year. You look at Lazier Brooks over in Millville. He's going to Alabama. Sinai DeGraff from Atlantic City going up to Rutgers. And, of course, Thomas, who just came into your program this offseason, as I just mentioned, is going to Penn State. What was that like getting him into your system, your program, and how you plan to utilize him this year? I got to imagine he's going to be one of the feature points of this entire football team this year, even if it is only going to be his only year at Pleasantville.
Absolutely, man. He's a great kid, great athlete. And when we found out he was coming to school with us, it was like a big shock, and it was like a big relief because we lost such a big senior class last year. So we kind of had to figure out who was going to be that next guy and who we're going to have, who we're going to be able to feature. So having a guy and a kid of his caliber, it was a huge plus, man. And he's been great so far. Leading by example, high competitor, loves to compete every single day. Big personality, loves to be around his friends, loves to be around his teammates. So it's been great, man. He's been meshing with the boys really well. And offensively, I think he's going to do some really big things because with his ability and his athleticism, it's through the roof offensively. And defensively, he's going to do some great things for us too, just because his physicality and his athleticism again and his elite ball skills. Just got to continue to help him understand the playbook, continue to teach him football and learn. I think he's going to have a great year for us.
So you already alluded to defense from Thomas and some of the other guys we already mentioned, but Dwan Martin, your linebacker, and Alcino Blakely, one of your defensive backs, and maybe you could put them all over the field at this point, but these guys are very versatile. What do you make of those two guys? I know Martin's a senior, and Blakely, I believe, is going to be a junior this year as well. So when you look at that, when you look at those two guys on defense, and would you classify those guys as maybe like the captains of your defense, particularly Martin, considering he is going to be manning that linebacker spot? What do you make of these two guys on defense this year?
Yes, Dwan. He was a kid that came in our program last year. He's been great, man, and I think this is going to be a huge year for him. Last year, he split time at playing on the edge and playing second level linebacker. I think looking at in the future for him in college, I think he's going to end up being a second level linebacker, be able to play in space. So he was splitting time because the year prior at his previous school, he wasn't playing any linebacker. So him just getting that year of experience at the linebacker position and continue to develop and understand the game and the flow of game from that position, I think is going to be great. And Alcino Blakely missed 5 games last year, came back, was able to play a lot and make some big time plays. Special football player, man. He has 8 Division I scholarship offers right now, so we're looking for him to make a splash and really continue to build in his junior campaign as he continues to get healthy and get in the flow of things.
Malachi Timberlake, Pleasantville head coach, with me on Cal One-on-One, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. So looking at the schedule as it looks like right now, of course, the Continental Division, that's where you guys are this year after the WJFL realignment. Now, I've talked to a lot of the local coaches already, and mostly the division realignments kind of put all the Cape Atlantic teams back towards an old school traditional schedule, playing a lot more local teams right down the road. But meanwhile, your division opponents this year, if I have this correctly, Willingboro, Haddonfield, Gloucester, Paul VI, you guys, and Seneca. Now, again, I believe the only local team you play this year is Oakcrest, if I read your schedule correctly, or at least last I checked. But you guys are going to be playing a lot of different looks this year compared to, playing the Oakcrest, the Ocean Cities, the Cedar Creeks, and all the other local teams within the Cape Atlantic area. What did you make of the division coming up here in 2024?
Well, man, I just feel as though if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. So if you look at those teams, a lot of those schools in Group 2 were Group 2 finalists or in the Group 2 sectional finals, or you know what I'm saying? So it just, for us, it's great. I think it's a tough schedule. It's going to be a gauntlet schedule, especially for us in Group 2. But I don't think you will want it any other way as a football coach, being able to prepare yourself and prepare your team week in and week out for playoff caliber schedule. So it's going to be fun, man. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be great for our boys to step up to the challenge and really be able to prove ourselves on that stage. And even the travel, I mean, it doesn't really affect us because last year we had a couple far games. This year we are blessed to have the Oakcrest game that's at home. Me and my Coach Forrest actually coached me when I was in high school. We communicated and we wanted to get that game in good for the community. So I'm excited, man. But those teams in our division is not going to be. It's going to be tough, man. It's going to be week in, week out. But we're excited for it.
I'm actually a little curious now about the Pleasantville Oakcrest. If you want to call it a rivalry, at least just it's a fun matchup for the local area because everyone talks about Oakcrest, Absegami, Oakcrest, Cedar Creek, Gammy, Cedar Creek, and some of the other rivalries. And of course, Pleasantville playing Ocean City for so long, year in and year out. But I feel like Pleasantville Oakcrest is a matchup not too many people, maybe outside of those two areas of the county, really talk about as a very unique matchup, considering the proximity of Mays Landing and Pleasantville and what those two communities mean to bounce off of each other. What do you make of the matchup with Oakcrest and obviously with Coach Forrest, who you know very well?
I think it's fun, man, because especially our kids, they grow up playing each other in Pop Warner and Little League football. So a lot of our kids know each other, and like you said, it's right down the street. So it's great. It's great for the community, and it's not that many Group 2 schools anymore. Cedar Creek moved up to Group 3. Absegami's Group 4. So for us to be Group 2 and now Oakcrest being Group 2, I think it's good because kind of similar school, similar dynamics, similar background with our kids and geographically. So I think it's going to be a fun matchup. We was able to scrimmage them last year, and I think they played them 2 years ago in year 2021. So I think it's going to be good, man. I'm excited for it.
Couple more for you, Coach. And again, I appreciate your time. When you look at the expectations for this program now, You go back over the last, let's just say, 20 plus years of this program. There's a lot of lulls with Pleasantville, just trying to find the right pieces, whether it was the kids, the staff, the support from the community and the school, just trying to get, a win here, a win there, a couple more wins, and kind of keep building off it. And it really wasn't there until maybe roughly about 10 years ago at this point, if memory serves correct. And obviously what Chris Sacco did as well. I know that was a big story at the time when he was still the head coach for Pleasantville, going on a couple of playoff runs. In the past 2 years, you guys have made the sectional semifinals. You are in the thick of things when it comes to competing for that Group 2 sectional title, whether it's South Jersey or, we'll call it, Central Jersey. It may be just a name placeholder at this point. When you coach up your guys to, strive for the goal of winning a sectional title and maybe competing for a state championship, since that is now the ultimate goal for everybody at this point in high school football. When you say that to your kids, I'm sure you have a coach cliche, one game at a time, one day at a time. But how do you get that message across, knowing that these kids are good enough to get over that hump, as you alluded to before, where getting to the sectional semifinals is all well and good, but they're better than that, and they could get to that sectional final and even win it?
I think it's just like you said, like you gotta take it day by day, but also instilling the confidence and the will and the determination in the kids. I think as a staff, we do a really good job at taking it day by day and pushing them to their limits. Because a lot of times in our community, in our area, there's not a lot of positive reinforcement going on. It's a lot of negative and negativity. And even at our lower level does a great job and they dominate, but they dominate locally. So like when you're looking at high school, when you start playing in a broader schedule and you're going to Willenboro and you're going to Seneca and you're playing Paul VI, kids that you're not really familiar with, you got to be ready to compete. And I think that's what the beauty is of our schedule. I think we have some really good football programs that are going to be able to battle test us and really push us to our limits and early in the season. And I think that's what's going to help us prepare ourselves when we get to those first and second round of the playoffs. And our motto is just chasing greatness. Every day you got to chase greatness. And every day you got to restart. You got to continue to push yourself past the limit, hold yourself accountable. So I think our kids are buying into it, and they kind of like, especially our class of 26, they've been there since freshmen. And every year they've been in the second round of playoffs. So they're kind of like the ones that are driving this thing to try to get us over the hump. But at the end of the day, we just got to take it 1 week at a time. And I think we'll be pretty fine at come playoff time, and we'll be prepared to compete at a high level and let us see where the chips fall.
To piggyback off that, as you mentioned your experience at Cedar Creek and winning, whatever the de facto state championship was. I know Cedar Creek, just a couple of years ago, 13-0, they were regional champions, and they have many sectional titles. So you have that championship experience as a player playing for the Pirates and playing locally too, which I think is a good thing, especially when you're coaching this team, which is only a little bit down the road. Do you use that experience as a player and excelling in those big moments and how those teams operated to win sectional and regional titles? To how do you get that message across from your experience to your current crop of players?
I think you have to try to pull your experiences and communicate with them. You got to be able to translate it a little bit though, because when we won state championship at Cedar Creek, it was 2015, first state championship in school history. It's 2024, so that's 9 years ago. So the dynamic of kids are a little different. So you got to pick and choose what experiences and what do you want to pull from that and try to use that as a driving force and figure out how to reach this group of kids. Because every year the group of kids are different. And I was also blessed to be a part of the state championship team in 2021 at Cedar Creek. We went 13-0. And that was kind of recent. But even then, from 2021 to now, kids are still changing every single year. So I think that's the beauty of it. And you got to constantly find ways to reach them. So I think you made a good point, Nick. You got to use your experiences, but you got to also kind of figure out how to translate them, how to drive them, and how to motivate them every single day, especially if it's not coming from home. You got to be able to dig deep and try to get those kids to buy in.
When you talk about buy-in, I wanted to give you more of a broader question about this, about the Pleasantville community, because to me, it's a very unique community because, you look at, it to me, it's almost like it's a roller coaster. And I've seen it up close and personal, broadcasting games there and seeing it from afar from the youth programs and, always the high school. And again, just to, I think it kind of mirrors the town itself. The football struggles and the football success, it kind of mirrors the town itself, especially maybe for longtime residents. Now, again, I've only lived adjacent when it comes to living in the area and living by Pleasantville, but that's what I've noticed personally. What does this football team do for this community? I know the youth program is huge in Pleasantville. You just mentioned how the kids in Mays Landing and Pleasantville, they grow up playing together. That's why Oakcrest Pleasantville is a great high school rivalry, a great high school matchup in all sports. But when you see the success on the Pleasantville football field at this high school for the Greyhounds, and I see when you drive through Main Street, you see all the seniors, all their pictures are all over Main Street. It's a great sight to see. What does this program do to this town and community, especially when the kids are all bought in, they're all working together, everything's meshing, and there's a lot of success on that football field?
I think what the program does, it ultimately saves lives, man. Just being here in the school, seeing how the behaviors change when things are going well, especially with the sports programs, not even just football, even basketball, track and field. When our programs are thriving, it changes the whole dynamics of how our kids are acting, how their grades are looking, what the behavior is looking at home, what type of young man they're presenting themselves out in the community. And the community loves one thing about Pleasantville, like when the community comes out and they start supporting and they're behind the kids feed off of that. So I think just continue to bridge that gap and build that community spirit and that community camaraderie. I think it's a beautiful thing, man. And it's going to hopefully we continue to do our part and community continues to want to support us. And as a staff, we got to continue to reach these kids just to get them out of the streets and like I said, continue to save their lives, man. The amount of kids that we were able to get them to play football and they weren't even doing things and doing some negative things that you may not want to see kids doing. And it's just like, wow, like that kid 8 months ago wasn't doing this. And now he's balled in trying to win a playoff game at that. So it's just crazy how the dynamics go, but it's been fun, man. And that's why you want to do it. That's why you get in this profession. You just want to continue to help kids out and try to impact their lives as much as possible.
That's great stuff. Malachi Timberlake with me on Cal 101. Coach, really appreciate your time. Good luck this season. I can easily see the Greyhounds improving upon that 8-2 record, and hopefully we are talking again when you guys are making another deep playoff run and representing for the Greyhounds later this fall.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate you having me, man.
Absolutely. Look for Pleasantville to compete in the Continental Division of the West Jersey Football League here in 2024. And, of course, be on the lookout for that local rivalry with Oakcrest as well. Malachi Timberlake with me here on Cal 101, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. Like and subscribe to the video and, of course, to our channel. Be sure to check out the rest of our podcasts on Cal 101. And, of course, check out our live game coverage coming this fall as well. We'll see you next time.